Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast. Today is March 9th, 2020. It's a Wednesday here in the CHGO offices. Today's show is presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. I'm Sean Anderson. I'm the host of the CHGO White Sox Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Alongside me, as always, the man with the mustache, Vinnie Duber. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Ecknerwall23. The show is on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox, and CHGO is at CHGO_sports. Vinny, big week for you. You got a lot of articles coming out. You could check out Vinny's new article talking about how the White Sox can pick from the A's fire sale. We'll be talking about that on tomorrow's podcast, along with some Carlos Rodon talk. But today, we got to start off with our icebreaker, and it's about homogenizing baseball. We got this chat in the Discord just a bit ago, and it was from, I can't see that, Lawrence. What's the ad?
JWham821.
And this is from JWham821, and it's about standardizing major league ballparks, and, you know, should we start doing that? Should we start making all 30 playing fields even, or is that something that's good about the quirkiness of baseball? JRam's going to hang up and listen. Oh, wait, it's a message, but, you know, what are our thoughts here on homogenizing baseball in their stadiums?
Please don't. Please don't. Yeah, no, it's goofy and it's fun, right? I mean, you know, the Red Sox, they apparently had no idea what the heck they were doing back in 1912 when they built that ballpark, because it is weird to see in person. It's weird to see on TV. I would imagine it's very weird to play in, but hey, it's goofy and it's fun, and it makes for a lot of hits and homers that wouldn't be otherwise, makes for a lot of diving catches into bullpens and whatever. I think we could use a little bit more wacky alignments in terms of stadiums out there.
Yeah, shout out Torrey Hunter.
Shout out to our guy Matt Ryan, current
Matty
Falcons.
Ice.
Matty Ice in the chat, too.
Oh, my God.
He wants to keep baseball weird. Also, shout out to Anthony in the chat.
I call him Matty Rice because he turns soft when heat is on.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
See what I did there?
Wow.
But yes, baseball should be exclusively weird. Like, the playing field being different each time you go to a different place is unique. It's great. I would have a dome on Minnesota. That would be 100%. If I was the commissioner, like, no, Minnesota, you can't have an outdoor stadium. It's too cold up here. It rains too much. The stadium you built, Target Field, it's not even that great. Put a dome on that sumbitch. But otherwise, yes, every other team can have their druthers, whatever they want to do with their stadium, except for Cleveland, too. Sorry, I'm changing all the AL Central ballparks because they're not great.
Are you fine with any of them?
Kansas City is really great.
Okay.
It's outstanding.
But it has no wacky alignment, though.
I mean,
Yeah, very generic.
Yeah, but
I
there's
mean,
fountains.
but you got the water spectacular, the big ass scoreboard, the Hall of Fame in left field, which Luis Robert tried to crush the other year. That is a very nice stadium. The food and the parking lot, everything about Kansas City, the city, is great.
Well, and his guy Matt Davidson hit 3 up to that Hall of Fame, too.
His guy.
He's not dead. I don't know why I'm pointing to this guy.
No, Matt Davidson gets a sky
His
point.
career.
The only thing that I'll say about the wacky alignments, let's keep player safety in mind. We do not need in-play foul poles or changes in terrain like they used to have down in Houston.
Right. Well, and yeah, thank God they got rid of Tiles Hill. Thank God they got rid of the bullpen alignment in Wrigley, too. Like, I mean, we don't need that. Tampa's a nightmare as well. That's the only one I'd change.
Well, how about still the case in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken? The bullpen's down the foul
I thought they
lines?
moved it to center field.
Did they move them?
I thought so. I could be wrong.
National League.
But got to
who's
go
paying
after that
attention?
one.
But for safety's sake, especially our team, let's raise those fences up on the left field out of bounds side so Eloy can stay safe and not go into the netting anymore.
The Eloy wall?
Oh, yes. Just like 7 feet tall.
Don't
jump.
Yeah, we need an alarm out in left field. Whenever he starts, reaching the warning track, alarms need to going off. I am with you guys. I think that baseball, that's the fun part about it. I haven't been to all the parks that you guys have been. Obviously, Vinny, you're traveling around the country to cover the sport. Herb, you're going on tours with Brendan BMAC and Chris Tannehill.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go and visit these unique stadiums, I think it's just you can just be really captivated by the stadium alone for 9 innings just because there's so much to explore. There's so much to do. I think that's truly like the place that baseball like needs is unique stadiums, different looks and all this stuff. And it's like you look at the G-Rate, one of the more standardized baseball fields, try to be as modern as possible, built in 1991. Well, you see the next ballpark that's built is Camden Yards. They go back to the old Jewel ballpark style, like Fenway, like Wrigley Park, building it in the same constructs of one block, and you see now Camden Yards is like a top ballpark. So it's just like even with the White Sox, I wish they had some quirkiness. Like Comiskey was quirky. The idea for the Armour Square Park, that's a very quirky idea. Making sure that, some of the alignments of the Chicago blocks are put into the stadium. Like that's what used to make it weird, was they used to just try to build them in one block. That's how you get like a weird Ebbets Field, a weird Forbes Field. What's the other one that had like 450 down the middle?
Polo Grounds.
Polo Grounds. Yeah. I mean, like that's how you get the weirdness of baseball. And that's how it was started, because that's the only place you could build a ballpark, was just you bought a block and you built it there. So
it was like 220 down the line, like 480 straight center.
Dead center.
Playing in those old stadiums when you unlocked them in MVP Baseball 2005 was always a treat.
And thank you for going to MVP 05 and not, mentioning MLB The Show. But shout out to Boog Shambi and Chris Singleton, the new announcers for MLB The Show 2022. But you could play as Garrett Crochet in MLB The Show 2022.
Look at this segue,
Look at that segue. We're talking about what to do with Garrett Crochet as the Chicago White Sox. We're all for keeping baseball weird. Matt Ryan in the chat, Matty Ice is for it as well.
Also, hello, Anthony. I saw your chat earlier.
Hello, Anthony. What's up, Matt from Oak Lawn? I know he's a loyal Locked On Sox fan. What's up, Cheesy Sox? They said MVP 05 is a classic. It's the GOAT. I'd have to agree there. But let's talk about Garrett Crochet. He wasn't an MVP Baseball 05. But the 2022 first-round pick, drafted 11 overall by the White Sox, out of Tennessee. There was talks when he was first drafted that he could become a starter. With the 2020 season, though, there was no minor league, system for him to report to. He did end up going to Schaumburg to work out with the minor leaguers that they had down there. And then, he gets a September call-up in 2020 to the bullpen, and he's been there ever since. So we're kind of figuring out, in 2022, whenever the season starts, what are they going to do with Garrett Crochet? What's the plan? Is he still a starter in their minds? Vinny, obviously last year we saw the first full season from Crochet. What's your vibe after the season, talking to Rick Hahn, the front office, Garrett Crochet? What's the vibe on him being a starter? Is that still in their plans?
Well, the last time we got to talk to Rick Hahn was way back in November, and or right before the lockout started. The last time we talked to him, we asked him about this, and I think at the time they didn't know. They didn't know what he was going to be in 2022. I think the White Sox think that Garrett Crochet is going to be a starting pitcher one day. You don't draft a guy that highly with the hopes that he becomes a great middle reliever. You know what I mean? You draft him because he has the ability and the talent to be a very good starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. I mean, we saw on draft night he was already getting comp to Chris Sale.
Right.
And I mean, obviously that would be stellar, but if that were to be the outcome. But I definitely think he's going to be a starting pitcher one day. The bigger question, the more interesting topic, is what is he going to be in 2022? I'm sure that after many months during this lockout, the White Sox have now figured that out. Even when they had the answer back in November, and I think we have that quote from Rick too. That when he talked to us at the GM.
Hey, you want it? I'll give it to you.
We got it. Lawrence is working on it. There it is, right there. And I think this is a very good kind of rundown of what that situation was for those who are listening to this in the future. I can read it for you. I don't have a great answer to that just yet. He had a very good year in 2021, which does make you hesitant to move him out of something that's working, because he is valuable in that role. That said, we still very much believe in his potential to be an impactful starter too. That's just something we want to find a way to possibly bring out of him. What I don't have a good answer on yet is exactly how we're going to balance that on the 22 club. And there's more. We were able to find a way to use Michael Kopech in the bullpen, but still get him the occasional start, get him stretched out some, and put him in a decent position entering this season to be in the rotation. So it's possible that that's what we do with Garrett next year. That's one option. We haven't just yet arrived on how best to balance the success he had in the bullpen role he performed with what we think very well might be a successful future as a starter. So obviously there, Rick running through it very, comprehensively like he always does. But yeah, it's yet to be seen, or it was the last time we talked to him, whether Garrett Crochet would end up continuing in that bullpen role or be worked into being a starting pitcher starting this year.
Fantastic job on the read, by the way. That's a long quote. That's a chunk of comment there, but a nice job through the read there. Herb, I agree with Rick Hahn here. I mean, it's a difficult position because you look at the amount of lefties in the bullpen for the White Sox right now. It's Garrett Crochet and it's Aaron Bummer. That's it. You also have Dallas Keuchel on the team, but there's no really, left-handed prospects that are coming up. Bennett Sousa's the only name that could be up, but he's not really there just yet. So it is a tough situation, especially with the way to balance out the team, like Rick said, with the lack of amount of lefties that they have on the roster.
Yeah, and I would love for Garrett Crochet to be a starter eventually and do, as Rick would say, pair him along with Michael Kopech, like Michael Kopech did in 2021. Hey, here's a couple starts, here's a couple more relief appearances, but White Sox are more of a championship run this year, I believe, than they were last year. Don't get me wrong. I think they believe they were on a championship run last year too. But to experiment or to stretch out Garrett Crochet during the season in 22, especially when you have all these guys out there who are supposed to give you innings, and Dallas Keuchel in the top three we've already talked about with Michael Kopech, you can give Garrett Crochet maybe one start every 5 times through the rotation just to give him a couple more innings. But right now, going through his pitching, he's only got 3 pitches. He's got the fastball, he's got the slider, and occasional changeup.
Right.
So for a pitcher, I say 3 is the very minimum, and he barely used his changeup last year. So if he can develop a third pitch and rely on it and use it a little bit more, yeah, maybe he can be a starter in the future. But I say he's such an elite reliever right now. I would go on that track.
It's funny that you bring up the changeup too, because I go back to when they drafted him. Mike Shirley, who is the farm director,
the head of amateur scouting.
Was he in one of the draftniks back then? Like he was the head of
He's been in the organization for a while, yeah.
Right, and recently promoted after Nick Hotstetler was demoted or just moved to a different position.
Moved to a different spot in the front office, yeah.
And Mike Shirley took over, and this is what he said about what the future was when they drafted him. This was on draft night, about his ceiling. And he said, if he pitches the 9th inning, how about that for a good floor? And he talks about how he needs a 3-pitch weaponry to become a starter. And right now he's not at that. You look at his pitch percentage, he stopped using his changeup after July. It went from 10% usage in July down to 4.5%. And then September, he was strictly, fastball slider, 1.4% for that changeup. So, you see good results from him. You see good results off the fastball, off the slider, but him trying to develop that starter repetition or repertoire, I don't really see it coming along, and the volume just isn't there for him to even make a 5-inning start. Like, how long can he realistically go in one game? It might be 3 innings.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of folks, and even Rick, in that same conversation, want to compare him to Michael Kopech, because that's what the White Sox did with Michael Kopech last year. Use him as a bullpen pitcher and a spot starter in order to get him ready to work as a starting pitcher in 2022. But Garrett Crochet doesn't have the kind of minor league experience that Michael Kopech did. Michael Kopech was pitching in professional baseball for years before he got to that point, and the injury and the time off is what necessitated that approach from the White Sox. I don't think you can do that with Garrett Crochet and have him ready to be a starting pitcher in 2023 and on your big league team. So I think two things need to happen, basically. One, they need to keep him in the bullpen for 2022 because he's too valuable there to their World Series hopes. Right. And at one point, you're going to have to send him to the minors to get ready to be a starting pitcher. Yeah. And that's a very weird thing because he's had a very weird career so far where he went from pitching as what was basically a sophomore in college, because I think he had 1 start during his junior year. Yeah. So basically pitching as a sophomore in college in the SEC to pitching in the major leagues in a pennant race, basically.
Right, the same year.
And then they kept him in the major leagues. You don't see that very often. And for him to be able to become a starting pitcher, he's going to have to learn how to become a starting pitcher, and I don't think he can do that at the major league level. Maybe the White Sox find a way where he can, and they can figure it out, to borrow Rick's term on how they're going to keep using Kopech, creative. Maybe they can use a creative way to do that with Garrett Crochet over the next couple of years. But you got to remember, Garrett Crochet was not just picked to be a reliever on one World Series contending team. Right. He was picked to be a starting pitcher on multiple World Series contending teams years down the road.
And it's just like, when's that going to happen, Herb? It just doesn't seem like that's going to happen soon when he's going to join the rotation. I mean, 2025 in my mind? Like, I think he's going to at least need this year in the pen. Maybe 2023 we start seeing him in the minors. But, like, I don't know when you can actually start using him in that Kopech role, because with Kopech, like, he had 2 seasons of plus 120 innings pitched in the minor leagues. Like, Garrett Crochet,
and they're still worried about his workload.
Yes, he might not even get to 150 innings this year, which would be like, what the baseline for a typical starter. Mm-hmm. Crochet has 0 innings in the minor leagues, I think under 30 starts in his college career. Like, I just don't know if it's going to happen.
I mean, we see this all the time, especially new baseball, where pitchers are taken out after the third time going through the lineup. Imagine Garrett Crochet, his whole career has been pretty much 3, 4, 5 hitters. That's it. Not the 3, 4, and 5 in the lineup, but only 3 or 4 or 5 hitters he's facing per game. That mindset of, okay, I got those guys out. Man, that inning was great. My guys are up hitting. Now I got to go back out there. That is a thing. That's a mental toll on your body, your mind, your soul, everything. So I would want him, if he wants to be a starter, and this is what the White Sox should be asking him, hey, do you not necessarily want to be a starter in the major leagues, or do you want to be in the major leagues? Because that's the choice. Because if you want to be a starter, we got to do like Vinnie says. You got to go down to the minors, and we got to refine what your pitching is. Like, you have to find that changeup and start using it much more than 10% of the time, because they're going to sit on your fastball and your slider. There's a nice difference between their fastball and slider. I think it's 96 tops out on fastball, about 85, 86 on a slider or change. So there's enough mix there where you can fool batters, but you can't do that as a starter. After the second or third time, they're going to be sitting on one pitch. Like, he's not getting this over. Cool, I'll sit on the fastball and I'll crush. So that mental aspect of having to face a batter for the second time or the third time is a huge part of a starter's repertoire, and he should be getting used to that in the minors. Otherwise, that's why I say he's too good to be sent down to the minors. He's already tasted the major leagues, and if he feels like his best way to stay in the major leagues is being an elite closer or elite reliever, I think you just keep him there. And yeah, you lose a little money in the free agent market when he is free, but you're a Major League Baseball player.
Right.
That's what do you value? Well, you'll be a contributor to a championship caliber team, or you're going to try to make yourself a Major League Baseball player or a Major League Baseball starter in the minors.
And I think that's why the discussion of extending him, especially when we brought that up yesterday, is such an interesting idea, because, you know, we see Aaron Bummer get extended 5 years, $16 million. I mean, if you're able to get a starter for $4 million, I mean, that's cheap. And if he's going to be a starter in the next 5 years, like, maybe that extension talk needs to be happening. But right now, the changeup development isn't happening. The velocity's down, which we have a quote on from Garrett Crochet about why his velocity was down from 2020 to 2021. He said, I say that's something that's come along with adjusting to big league hitters. Before, I was throwing it as hard as I could in a general direction, and then I felt like I was needed to hone in and just be more of a pitcher than a thrower. The main thing, I do feel a lot like a pitcher now. I feel very good about what I'm doing out there. If 100 comes back, it comes back. I'm just trying to make it through 162 games, with this being my first full season, getting in the weight room, feeling stronger every day, and as long as the arm's feeling good, then I'm okay with whatever the velo board says. And, you know, he was down to around 96, which is still an effective fastball. The results were still there, and he made it through the season. Like, there was a couple hiccups, I think, health-wise, but for the large majority, 60 innings is, I think, a fair workload for him in 2021. Like, I was fine with his output in 2021.
It's really great. I think I was at a game live where he gave up 4 runs. And if you just look at the box score, you're like, man, 4 earned on 4 batters you faced? It wasn't that simple. He was just giving up bleeders to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they eventually scored 4 runs. One was, I thought, was supposed to be unearned, but they were just bleeders. They weren't scoring Garrett Crochet up. I don't remember a hitter last year. Maybe I'm missing this, Vinny. You were more covering the games every day. I don't remember a hitter squaring Garrett Crochet up and saying, hey, man, this is 97 or 96 is easy. I'm eating off of this guy. He's a tough at bat. I remember the Cincinnati Reds when he first made that debut. He was striking out Reds left and right at the end of the season, and it was great to see.
Well, and Vinny, we talked about like Liam Hendricks being so dominant last year. He gave up 11 home runs. Crochet only gave up 2. To Herb's point, only 2 home runs last year from the lefty.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Tony La Russa called on him an awful lot, and he proved by season's end that he was one of the reliable guys that Tony could call on. And I think right now, as currently constructed, that bullpen can't afford to be without him. Not just because he's a lefty and there's so few lefties out there, but just look at the names that have disappeared. Look what they've backfilled with it so far. Kendall Graven was a fantastic signing, but you've got 3 guys out on the back end right now, and you've got Reynaldo Lopez. If Crochet's not a part of that, you got to have some middle relievers, and Crochet has proven he's a good one, a reliable one, good enough to even be part of the back end mix somehow. Yeah. And I don't think that bullpen is strong enough without him to say, all right, we're going to spend the year putting him in the minors and seeing what he can be.
Well, and that's the thing too. The lockout, I think, really hurt him, because if he was not on the 40-man roster, which obviously they needed him in 2021 and 2020, it's not really that big of a discussion point, but if he was able to be in minor league camps right now, he would be able to be working with Ethan Katz on building up that strength, on building up to be a starter. If he was able to do that when minor league camp starts and when the season starts, he could be down in AA Birmingham or AAA Charlotte, working as a starter, or at least working on that volume. It sucks with the lockout, because I feel like he's most affected by this lockout, not being able to work with Ethan Katz and this pitching staff.
Perhaps it depends on whether they think they can turn him into a starter while keeping him as a part of that big league bullpen. Because I think what you spoke to, if they didn't need him, if they didn't think they needed him in 2020, if they didn't need him in 2021, we would be talking about him as no more than like the guy who takes Dallas Keuchel's spot in the rotation whenever Dallas's contract is up, right? I mean, regardless of Dallas's performance, I'm just saying when that contract were to end, that's what we would be talking about Garrett Crochet as. Instead, we're talking about him as a guy who can be a big-time contributor for a World Series caliber team in 2022, which we might not have been otherwise.
And I think at his best, if the White Sox plan this out, it's going to be very hard to do. Like, I would tandem him with Michael Kopech. We talked about Michael Kopech won't go 150 innings possibly. So if you can work it out that way, where you have Michael Kopech and Dallas Keuchel at the end of the rotation, and Michael goes 5, and then you go to Garrett Crochet, that would be awesome. Then you can give him 2 innings, stretch him out a little bit longer, maybe 3 innings to get to a next guy, get to Liam Hendricks or something like that. That would be the perfect situation. You can both serve 2022 and serve the future for Garrett Crochet. But it won't work out like that, because one of these games, Lance Lynn will get hurt hard, and he'll be out in the 4th inning, and then you need Garrett Crochet or Raylo to come and get those innings. So, yeah, I think serving both masters will be very hard, but if they can do that at the beginning of the year, okay, Kopech, you're pitching this game. If you get through 5, we're going to Garrett Crochet. That'll be perfect.
Right, and with Crochet last year, one outing where he had 3 innings pitched, that was in April 25th against Texas. He had 6 total where he went 2 innings or more, and there was a couple where he went 1 2/3. But for the majority of the year, he was going an inning or under. He was in 20 games, he went an inning or under. So that was the large part of his usage last year. You're listening to the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life, and that is the best way to support CHGO. And what we're doing here, it's to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. If you really like the White Sox brawler you see right there, that logo, you could sign up with PointsBet, make a $50 or more deposit. You can get the CHGO membership when you use code CHGO and get that logo on a shirt. It's pretty sick. I can't lie. And also, for the first time ever on PointsBet, you can do live NBA same game parlays. You can combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. So if you're watching the Bulls and Pistons tonight, you can use PointsBet and bet during the game and make it a little bit more exciting for you. And the best part too, online sign up is now available in Illinois. You could download the PointsBet app and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone in less than seconds. Again, use code CHGO to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And again, this is CHGO. And Vinnie, I want to talk to you a little bit about your article. What should people go check out at allchgo.com? What'd you write about? What's up on the site? And what can Sox fans be entertained if they want some written content on allchgo.com?
Yeah, up yesterday, I took a look at the Oakland A's. I think that's a team that everybody's expecting is going to go into fire sale mode here on the other side of the lockout, whenever that might be. And the White Sox, who obviously still have a number of items left on their offseason to-do list, might be able to check one of those items off with somebody from the Oakland A's. So I went player by player, kind of look at the top trade candidates out there and seeing who might be a fit for the Sox.
There's a lot of names, a lot of interesting content, and a lot of interesting conversations that I think could be had just from that article alone. So go to allchgo.com. Read Vinnie's great work. That's your homework. Come tomorrow, because we'll be talking about Vinnie's great work. He's got a Rodon article in the works that we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll talk about that A's article as well. So go check that out at allchgo.com. And there you can see the dope merch for all our teams. You can become a member there at allchgo.com. And when you become a member, you could join the CHGO Lounge. That's our Discord, where all of our CHGO personalities are in and we're talking to you. And that's where we pulled our icebreaker question, too, from earlier in the show. But let's move on to the next talk. Did you guys stay up last night to follow this MLB lockout news, or did you go to bed at a reasonable
I went to
time?
bed.
Went to bed, yeah.
Did you see any of it, or did you wake up to it?
I saw it when I woke up. Yeah.
Okay.
It was the same nonsense as usual. I was like, okay, they're not going to get a deal done before I go to sleep. And when I wake up, no deal's going to be done either. So no reason for me to stay up and see the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, and so far, no actual news, but there's been some progress. And the biggest progress that we're hearing right now is that the MLB, MLB is willing to let the players get rid of the qualifying offer. So if a player, wants to sign with a different team, a team can't make a qualifying offer and still get a draft pick. This is going to allow teams to truly pay players on their actual value, and it will create a fair value in the free agent market, which is great, but the owners want to combat that with an international draft. Mm-hmm. The international draft might not be starting until 2024, which are the reports from Bob Nightingale, but it's a big topic, especially for the White Sox, because this team is put together through international signings. One of their best pieces is someone, that people might not know about. It's Marco Patti in the front office. If you have any international players that you love on the Chicago White Sox, Marco Patti had some, hand in bringing him to the White Sox. So what does this news, the idea of an international draft, mean for the Chicago White Sox? We'll start with Vinnie.
Yeah, I think the idea would just be this, to distill it down maybe as easily as you can. Go ahead and rank all the prospects in each international signing class and see how many of them are in the top. The ones that the White Sox ended up with are in the top 30. And the idea would be, if there's an international draft and there's 30 teams picking, you can only get one of those guys. And so I look back to last year when Yoelqui Cespedes and Norge Vera were signed by the White Sox. You're talking about two very highly thought of international prospects. If that was a draft, even if they lucked into the number one pick, they're only getting one of those guys. And you're talking about two guys who are now, two of the highest, most impact prospects that they have in the system. They have had great success on the international signing front, be it Jose Abreu, be it Luis Robert, or be it, the guys that are currently in the minor leagues. I mentioned Cespedes and Vera, but what about the guys they just signed in Oscar Colas and others? So you're talking about a sizable chunk of the major league roster. You're talking about a sizable chunk of the minor league system made up of guys who have been acquired through international signings. If they shake that up, surely the White Sox will still try to do the same great work that they've been doing under Marco Patti, but you have to then adhere to the rules of a draft, which makes things much different.
Absolutely. And Herb, Jackie's mentioning, we're flagging this for Bob Nightingale content. Thankfully, we have other reports saying that the international draft is something that the MLB wants. Alden Gonzalez says that the start date would be for 2024, 5% higher bonuses for each slot, starting at $5.5 million for the first overall pick. And, you look at Oscar Colas, who they just signed, it's around $2.7 million. And I think that even Vera, or I think it was I'm blanking on the name now. Cespedes was around 2.7. So it would be an increase for some of these top players. Like Luis Robert might get more money right away, which is good for him. But again, for the Sox, it's not a free market anymore. You have to be beholden to the order, and likely that would be through some sort of lottery, which the owners want, or at least reverse standings. Which, if the Sox are doing this and it's starting in 2024, they're well within their window and their competition window. So, is this a big blow for the Sox if the draft gets input?
Huge blow. I'm wearing a shirt right now that says Summer 54. It's Minnie Minoso and Ernie Banks. It was a beer made by our guy Jay Westbrook out there at Haymarket. So Minnie Minoso, first Cuban player for the White Sox. Imagine you're in Cuba watching that guy do well, almost be a Hall of Famer, should be a Hall of Famer, and that ball keeps on rolling. Look at the White Sox roster right now. Right. We have a Cuban at first base, Cuban behind the plate. I know those was signing. We have all these Cubans. Third base is a Cuban. We're talking about Colas. All these guys probably come, and Luis Robert, he said as much, coming to the White Sox because look at them. They have Cuban representation. They've always been friendly to the Cubans. They've always been home. And I imagine a bunch of games in Cuba are shown to the fans there and saying, man, I want to be a White Sox. And when it comes up to the international signing times, most people like, yeah, that Cuban's going to go to the White Sox. That person, Colas, was like rumored for 2 years to come to the White Sox. He didn't sign last year for certain reasons and then sign this year. I think they have a nice lock on it because they've done their work. And like you were talking about with Marco Patti, after the whole international signing, international stuff they had with Dave Wilder, I thought they fell off the international map for a little while. And when they signed Marco Patti from the Toronto Blue Jays, their international signings have just gone skyrocketing. That's what our team is built on. That's Mas Cubanos. We have a lot of Latin flavor there, and that is what's propelling the White Sox currently. So yes, having somebody else be in there and taking a person that you otherwise would have had is going to be troubles for the White Sox. I don't mind the White Sox being all Cubans. They'll be awesome because the ones I've seen, mercy.
Pretty damn good.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
What else?
Give me 9 Luis Roberts, and you can have every single other person.
I'll bring this up too. Obviously, you look at the major league roster, and just in 2 guys, Abreu and Robert, you see the impact that this system has had on the White Sox chances of being a championship team. But in addition to having a very good major league roster, as we know, the White Sox need to rebuild the minor league system. You know what I mean? They're recently ranked as the lowest minor league system in baseball, and that's because the major league roster has seen the fruits of the process. But you've also got to restock that because part of this rebuilding project for Rick Hahn has always been, success long into the future. Want to keep that championship contention going well past just this 1 year or these next couple of years. In order to do that, you're going to need to have prospects. And while they're, they've had some recent picks that people can be excited about. Garrett Crochet, who we were talking about, is one of them. They are also redoing that restocking through that international market and the guys that we've just mentioned here. So if they're going to be able to continue to do that, continue to replenish that farm system, having that avenue that they've had so much success at is obviously important. And if that goes away or is, decreased in any fashion, it's going to be harder to do that.
Well, and it's seeming like it's spreading too. Like it really feels like Cuba and the White Sox, that connection's growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Jose Abreu being referred to as I think Yasmani Grandal even said it when he first signed. Like that's the reason why he came, and that's the reason why we want to win is for Jose Abreu. All of these guys seem to look up to Jose Abreu because of what he did in Cuban baseball and just because of the player that he is, being a Cuban American League MVP award winner, like that's huge. Also, like you see it now leaking out from James Fegan, who's out in Arizona. He talked to Luis Mias, I think. He's Mieses. He's an outfield prospect for the White Sox. He's been working with Eloy Jimenez this entire offseason. It's just like it really feels like the Cuban brotherhood is super strong with the White Sox, and them not being able to pick some of these younger, talented players could be a huge blow. I mean, like we might never even seen like Fernando Tatis in the prospect pipeline if this wasn't possible. So like maybe Marco Patti is able to become this draft guru then with international draft, and he's able to find some lower tier guys, but it is such a huge blow because I think international players, especially the Dominican, Cuban players, want to come to the Sox and play with the great talent that they have.
I couldn't imagine. I've only spoke English in my life. I couldn't imagine going to a different country and starting in the minor leagues, some Winston-Salem, somewhere in North Carolina, not speaking the language, not knowing the people, and then thrown into a system where they don't necessarily know what you're going through. At least the White Sox have had experience with Dominican players, Cuban players, other players who don't speak the language to develop into what they are in the future. They can see Eloy, like you said, with this young player. Eloy is a young Dominican. He can say, okay, this is what we do here. This is what we do there. This is what we do there. You need help? I got you. When I saw Luis Robert first come here and he was in the minors, every single time I saw him on Instagram, he was eating Domino's pizza. I was like, firstly, somebody needs to get to that man. Come on.
He's still doing that.
Oh, come on, man. In Chicago.
Sadly, he's still doing that.
World-class city. Luis does it too, right?
Yeah, Luis. No, I was saying
okay.
Luis.
I
Yeah,
thought
like
you meant Eli.
in a world-class city, that's a foul. But like that's probably what he loved. He's like, hey, man, I understand Domino's. Domino's is a delicious food, and my body's still chiseled. Like, he's not me. If he keeps on eating Domino's, Luis, you won't be me. You don't want to be me. Come on now. But those things are probably really hard to adjust to. Not only succeeding at baseball, but succeeding at the language, succeeding at life in America, and all those things, and being African too, of African descent, not great too. Like in America, like let's be real, it's a different thing for a young black man to be in America coming from Cuba, where they see a good majority of black people there mixed with white people. I'm not trying to make this a race thing, but that's a big time thing if you're Eloy Jimenez or you're Luis Robert. You got some people who look like you and say, okay, I can relate to you. You've been through my struggle. So your team, the White Sox, I want to be with that team because they understand what I've been through or what I'm going to go through.
Well, and you hear Jose Abreu's story, and like some of these guys, like Oscar Colas, he needs to take a full year off of baseball to even make that transition from Cuba to the Americas. Like it's a tough transition, Abreu had the heroic story and a crazy story of just being on a boat trying to make it across the sea.
Did he eat his passport?
I think so. And then, Jose Fernandez had to save his mom when he was coming over, I believe. There's some true horror stories of making that journey. So then when you're able to, I think, relate to somebody who has that same prospect, it makes the White Sox more of a destination for these players.
Right. And listen, whoever they end up taking in the international draft, whenever that is instituted, will be able to reap those same benefits. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking from a baseball standpoint, obviously, and maybe that's where it's going to have the most effect. The life stuff, the White Sox have laid that foundation, and so whoever comes along through that process will be able to take advantage of those things. And certainly the White Sox, Rick Hahn, whenever he's asked about rule changes and how that will affect, he says, listen, we'll adjust. And I'm sure they and every other team will do that. But it might cost them some of the talent that they've had success in bringing in recently. I think what we haven't talked about is the reverse, right, which is how this would affect the players themselves and the prospective players. And I think that's probably where a lot of the discussions are being had behind the closed doors with this. We saw a lengthy thing that Jeff Passan tweeted earlier, a conversation with David Ortiz about how it could affect people. So I think a lot of it has to do with that. But when we localize it to the White Sox, obviously they've had such great success lately through the current system that to see that change would have an impact.
It also seems just very MLB-like to be like, oh, let's just institute an international draft. Immediately, let's just, force these players to change their life just for Major League Baseball's sake. Like, I don't know. It does seem rushed, and I'm glad that David Ortiz did say something because he said that they're not ready yet for this draft. So thankfully, we've been able to see now that story has come out, more and more reports are saying that draft is going to be pushed to 2024 if it happens. So the Sox might have 2 years to take advantage of what they've been able to do, their ability to dominate the international signings. We'll see what happens, but it does feel like the White Sox, especially how they like to operate, undercover, very in the quiet. The international market just seems perfect for them. So it does feel, like a shot if the White Sox do lose this, but hopefully they're able to bounce back. I also want to talk, before we get into famous White Sox fans, the MLB lockout. They're talking about the shift being banned. I just want to get your thoughts real quick. Are you pro or anti-shift? Because we've never talked about this.
I'm pro banning the shift. I know it's innovative and it helps defenses out much more than it helps offenses, but I think this game, for it to grow, offense needs to be on the front lines. And so, yes, and for us as the White Sox fans who are managed by Tony La Russa, ban that damn shift immediately. 2 guys on either side of second base. You can move after the pitch is thrown, but before that, no. Absolutely not. It helps the White Sox tremendously because their manager doesn't adjust. I know Rick was like, we should do that. When we do it, we're actually good.
Right.
But, the manager on the field does not want to do shifts as much as Ricky Renteria did in 2020. So, I'm a anti-shift guy only because the White Sox don't employ it. If we were doing a lot more, I would be a pro-shift guy.
I like the shift, but I think I like hits more. Right? Because the whole point of this conversation is to increase the entertainment product or improve the entertainment product. I like the shift because it seems like for 100 years they played baseball and no one ever thought, why don't you just move that guy over there? And then once they did, like, it worked perfectly.
Right.
And so it's like, well, why haven't they been doing that forever? But yeah, I also like hits and runs. And so, yeah, I would like to see them figure out a way to increase that. And so if this is the way to do it, it's the way to do it. I think I saw some great quotes on Twitter the other day that were from hitters, from all-star hitters that were like, listen, it's hard to take the pitch that you're given from this best in the world pitcher and send it through that giant hole in the left side of the infield. And I believe them, you know what I mean? So I think that, if you're going to increase offense, increase action, which is what they want to do, go ahead and figure out a way to do that.
I'd be fine if they just implemented the pitch clock and see how that affected action. Just because, like, it is a defensive strategy. I mean, that it is a part of baseball. Like, if you're able to take advantage of it. I mean, that's how the Braves won the World Series last year. You see the changes that they made in June. They upped their shift they upped their shift percentage by a ton, and their defense improved massively. They were already hitting, and they needed to do that with injuries. And you talk about the numbers. 2020, the White Sox were at like 29% shift rate, and then they started shifting about 20% with Tony, so they dipped down about 9%. But what Rick was talking about was like they were top 10 in converting the shift into outs, which my thought is like, well, then why don't you do it more? It's like, we're really effective at throwing fastballs, but we're 95% sliders.
No choice in that.
Yeah, no, he has no choice in that, absolutely.
He can voice his opinion, but Tony's the bench boss.
Right, so maybe that's what.
And I'll say this too, the flip side of what I was just talking about is think of all the great hitters that do exist in Major League Baseball. They are figuring out a way to make it so defenses can't defend them. And so there is that competition element of, you're going to do that, I'm going to do this kind of thing. It's if you want it to stay that game of adjustments, there's going to be a large percentage of hitters who can make a very good living and put up very good numbers, no matter where you put those defenders on the field.
And it's exciting getting close to hopefully some news about the MLB lockout. Vinny doesn't even want to talk about it because he doesn't want to get excited about thinking about warm Arizona weather being in his future. So let's get this action going, whether we're getting an international draft in 2024, whether there's going to be a shift or no shift. I am sick of seeing tweets about the MLB lockout. So let's get going. Let's get Vinny in Arizona. It should be fun. We've got to take a quick break, though, because part of CHGO is exactly what's up in that top corner. PointsBet. Go to CHGO. If you want to help us out, you can download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. Not only are you going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a 50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. You'll be signing up with the fastest sportsbook, easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in just seconds. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right,
Before
Herb.
we go, somebody says I'm funny. I want to point that out.
My guy, Matt from Oak Lawn, and he liked that I gave an Oak Lawn shout out. So shout out to Smoke Lawn, the greatest city in Illinois.
That's all I want to point out. Just the positive comments coming my way.
I'm fine with talking about Oak Lawn. I love seeing Matt in the comments. He said that he's going to be watching some St. Lawrence baseball if the lockout doesn't end. So we'll go Vikings. But let's talk.
Jay Zawoski's.
Yeah, my dad's an alum too. Jay and my dad had some overlap, I think, in high school. But Herb, you wanted to talk about famous White Sox fans.
Yeah, I forgot your dad. You're so young. Your dad's like my age.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 43.
Ooh, yeah, I don't want to tell you my dad's age. Herb could be my dad, everybody. That's what we're learning out.
It's kind of tough, but yes.
I could be his dad.
Yeah, Lawrence could be my dad.
I don't think I was doing things back then, but yeah.
You wanted to talk about famous White Sox fans, though. This was your topic. You want to talk about the most famous White Sox fan.
And, you default to President Obama, but I don't think he's a real fan. I think he's, a fan.
That's brutal.
Because he's from the area. Like, you don't think President Obama's like tuning in on a Tuesday night, White Sox Royals.
So you're saying who's the most diehard fan?
Like if you actually there's a 162 games he or she is watching 130 of them.
Well, now, Herb, I take offense to that. I loved Rock Reigns back in the day. That's about as far
Dwayne Weiss, Kaminsky Park. Come on, man. Like, these things are giveaways. He's not. He He's not a fan. He's from the South Side. He's trying to gin up some local pride.
Yeah, just like Jeff Gordon calling it Wrigley Stadium.
Yeah.
Or I think Chris Bryant even did that too.
Also, you earlier called it Wrigley Park.
Yes,
so.
you
Did I?
did.
Yeah, you
yeah.
did.
I was going to say something. Yes, you did. I was like, they're going to drag you.
Well, that deserves $1 in the swear jar for our
They're gonna drag
Cleveland
you.
Washington football team
There you
thing. Yeah,
go.
there's
There you
the
go.
dollar
Slash long.
I said
Los
Wrigley
Angeles.
Park.
Yeah, you did. I think you were naming off fields,
Yeah.
and then you got onto
Yeah,
park.
that's Fenway and Wrigley.
Your
right
mouth
there.
was ahead of your brain in that one. I
It
think.
always
Yeah.
is. That's part of me too, and I think you could tell that with some of the ad reads. Like I'm trying to read the next sentence before it even happens.
But the guy I think is one of the biggest White Sox fans I think checks into games is Mandy Patinkin.
Who?
Oh,
Oh,
I
boy,
forgot
yeah.
you.
Oh, boy.
Princess
Oh, boy.
Bride.
You don't even need to
Oh.
watch Princess Bride. Are you a
I gotta check it
Homeland
out.
fan?
No, I'm not
I mean,
a home
seasons
fan.
1 and 2 maybe, but that show went off the rails.
Okay, so I gotta watch season 1 and 2 of Homeland and Princess Bride.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, Princess Bride! You should just watch because it's hilarious. It's funny. I didn't watch it until
Wait, now
way
what?
after. It
It's
was
on
done.
Disney Plus. You could
You
check it out
haven't
pretty
seen
easily.
Princess Bride?
No, I know Andre the Giant's in it.
Yes.
And I know
Wallace Shawn.
the part where it's I'm not left-handed. I know that part. I saw that clip before, but that's about it. That's all I know.
Okay.
Carrie Elways.
Inconceivable. Oh, that's
That's Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
yeah. I know those three. So
He
I
was-
know somewhat.
He was
of Princess
Bertram in Family Guy, I believe.
Who's Bertram?
That's
a deep cut, no?
Stewie's evil twin, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of know that.
Yeah,
All right.
Wallace Shawn voiced him. But yes, Mandy Patinkin. He travels around and sometimes stays at home with his wife. But he did the announcement or the video for the White Sox 2005 championship. He's, I think, born and raised Southsider and eventually went to L.A. and New York to be a great actor. But Mandy Patinkin, and if it's not him, I'm going to go with John C. Reilly, who you could see now on the L.A.
Winning
Lakers
Time.
Showtime movie. That's on, what is it? It's on
Winning
HBO,
Time.
which is
Yeah.
weird. It
HBO
should be on.
Max. Yeah.
It should be on Showtime, right?
It should be. It should
Dumb.
be.
But John C. Reilly's a big time White Sox fan.
I would say there are three answers to this question.
Give me it.
There's number one, and it's all based on who you're asking.
Okay.
Worldwide, there's only one answer: Barack Obama.
Yeah.
But if you are disqualifying the former president,
If he's
as
not
you
a
seem to
diehard,
be,
I understand.
then I think there's nationwide. Who's the most famous White Sox fan? It's got to be Chance the Rapper, right?
Cheesy
And
Sox
Cheesy
agrees.
Sox says that.
Yeah.
And then I would say in Chicago, because Chance the Rapper might only be known to certain age groups, right? So once you hit a certain age group, maybe people don't know who Chance the Rapper is. I would say then citywide, who's the most famous Chicago person who's a White Sox fan? Daley.
Oh yeah.
Mayor
I forgot
Daley.
about Mayor Daley.
Mayor.
I guess.
So there you go.
Our new mayor is also a White Sox
Also a
fan,
White
but
Sox fan, the
also
current mayor.
terrible.
Well, famous though.
Yeah. Well, she's famous, infamous.
Yeah. I
I hope you're watching, Lori.
Mandy Patinkin's from he went to South Shore. He's a South Shore guy. And then John C. Reilly, I don't know about. I've heard, because I'm a Brother Ice guy. He's a Brother Ice guy. He was class of '83, but I don't think he's a big sports guy. Like I think he's a White Sox fan, but I don't know if he's like a diehard White Sox fan. Mandy Patinkin is the one that you've thrown out that I think is like for sure. If we were gonna have a diehard White Sox celebrity fan on this podcast, I think right now leader in the clubhouse would be Mandy Patinkin.
My fiance is checking in. Courtney, she says that Steven Nelson from the MLB Network. His birthday was yesterday, by the way. Hello, Steven Nelson.
Yeah, Herb, I feel like you might even be on this list.
Yeah,
No,
if
no.
we're throwing Steven Nelson in,
I'm
I
not
think
even famous
you're
at my
more
own
of a
house.
famous White Sox fan than Steven
Courtney
Nelson.
barely knows who I am.
Yeah, Jimbo, our Croatian guy.
He's American,
Jimbo
but he has a Croatian
Mahavlic.
name.
Yes, we screwed it up, and I called
Oh,
him
Mr.
Polish.
T, that's a good one.
Mr. T is
Yeah.
one of them. There's a clip
I thought
of
he was a Cubs fan.
No, he sang the stretch at Wrigley, but he grew up
okay.
Sox fan, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
There's
I think
there's
he
a
went to
clip I
Dunbar.
found. Yeah, there's a clip I found of him being in the booth for Bo Jackson throwing somebody out from left field in '93. That's Mr. T. George Lopez once wore a Sox uniform on an episode of the George Lopez show.
He did.
Wow, okay then.
And then George went. He's from Chicago. He's from the Beverly neighborhood too. So Southside represent. Most famous White Sox fan coming from the Southside. Just saying.
I thought he was a famous Cubs fan.
George went?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is from NBC Sports Chicago when they had the 5 questions thing. And he said, I remember the night the 59 Sox won the pennant. Air raid sirens went off throughout the city at Mayor Daley's orders. So there you go to Mayor Daley.
Well, that's the
first
original
one.
Mayor Daley,
Yeah, but
yeah.
both of them are. I mean, Mayor
One of them-
Daley, it works for both of them.
Right, but one of them is a Sox fan and one of them was a Sox fan.
I mean,
is
yeah,
kind
one
of
of
the
us-
point I was getting
okay.
at.
Currently
Yeah.
not with us.
So
And Jackie says Craig Robinson. Do you know what?
My guy.
Craig Robinson is great, but his Pizza Hut commercials and his Gain commercial, oh my God. I know he's doing it for a check. Come on, man.
Let Craig
Come
Robinson
on,
get
Craig
his
Robinson. Stop.
I just like
Am I a pineapple guy now? Gainiac, gain. Come on, man. You're embarrassing us.
Wow.
Embarrassing us, Craig Robinson. And yes, he did the commercial with.
So is this that you don't like is this like that you don't like the quality of the commercial, or that it is for Pizza Hut?
No, Pizza Hut pans are delicious. Awesome. But I don't like
You're
that
ripping
guy.
Luis Robert for eating Domino's all the time, and you're
Only-
singing the praises of Pizza Hut over here?
Only Domino's pan. Pizza Hut is good universal. All their pizzas are delicious. Domino's is
Herb,
not.
I don't know about
Domino's
this.
only
about
pan.
this. As a Chicagoan,
Yeah.
I would say anything that is that
A
has
chain
a
at all?
national
Yeah.
commercial
Yeah.
is banned
I'm with
from,
you on
from
that
your
one, yeah.
house.
Come on, Herb.
If you're jumping on Luis Robert
Yeah.
for getting fast, cheap pizza, you need to be, in the same boat.
But he lives
Pizza Hut.
here.
So do you. You've lived here your
Yeah, but
23 years,
Yeah, but
Herb.
I don't get Pizza Hut. You know how hard it is to get Pizza Hut to your house? It's like impossible.
No, I don't
I hope
try.
you're not a sponsor. No,
I don't try to get
Pizza
Pizza Hut
okay.
in my house.
It's hard as hell to get Pizza Hut to your house. Like, I used to live by 2 Pizza Huts. Like, I lived in Humboldt Park, and there was a Pizza Hut on Ashland and Division, and there was a Pizza Hut on North and Western. Neither one delivered to me. They're like, hey, we don't deliver to you. It's like, how the hell are you going to deliver to me? And so I haven't eaten Pizza Hut since. But I lived a year in San Diego, which sucked because their pizza is trash. So I had to eat a lot of Papa John's Pizza Hut
but
and
come on.
Domino's.
This
You
is
shouldn't
this
be
is this
eating
is an
Pizza
admission
Hut.
you do not want to be making right now, Herb.
What?
Yeah.
The Pizza Hut is great?
Yeah.
Pizza Hut pan, if you need it in a pinch,
You don't.
awesome.
You never need it.
Yeah.
You never
We have
need it.
a
You live in a
1,000
place where
tavern
you can
style
get
pizzas.
any pizza in a pinch.
Yes, if it's
You could get good pizza in under
if
an
all
hour.
those places are closed or you're in some other city,
What time are you ordering pizza? Like 3 a.m.?
You see me?
Even then, those Pizza Huts are closed.
anytime. That's what they
just-
should call me.
Come on. Order at 7. It'll be there at 8. Jimbo says most Pizza Hut's joints sell SR 2020 or SR 22 insurance now. You guys help me out on that one. That's an old person
He's
reference.
saying that the
insurance.
restaurants have now
Driver
turned into
insurance.
insurance.
For delivery.
Yeah,
drivers.
so you-
They have closed,
Yeah.
is what he's saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
got you. Going back to George Wendt though, he said he remembered the night the 59 Sox won the pennants. Air raid sirens went off at Mayor Daley's orders, and it caused quite a scare for Cubs fans. Sox knew that the Russians weren't attacking, so I think that knowing that the Russians weren't attacking in 1959 means he's a Sox fan. So George Wendt also in the conversation.
Okay. I think the takeaway that I'm getting here, and I don't think this is White Sox specific. I think this is maybe baseball wide, maybe even sports wide at this point. Are there a lot of young celebrities who are diehard sports fans? I mean, even when you say like a huge famous team like the Lakers,
Yeah.
you think of Jack Nicholson, like he's like 80-something years old, right? I mean, like, Spike Lee with the Knicks, but he's
Billy Crystal
old.
with the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, like these is being a noted famous sports fan an old man or woman's game at this point.
Well, for baseball, it just goes along with the demographic.
Right,
you
but
know?
even when you step out of baseball,
I mean, if you don't like Mike Trout is a huge Eagles fan, but he's also in sports. Like you see him at Eagles games all the time. But yeah, it's more of an older person's thing to clam on
like who's
to
the most famous Bears fan?
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
But is he still a thing?
Oh, he's a diehard fan.
No,
That's our
I'm
guy,
not
Adam
questioning his
Studzinski.
fandom.
in
I'm
pop
saying in
culture,
terms of being
yeah.
a famous person right
No,
now.
but is George
like he
Wendt
was on
still in
that
pop
show
culture?
like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
but he's got a lot of money. He's a venture capitalist. And him and Mila just did that commercial for the Super Bowl.
And they, of course, don't bathe their children. That's the other thing.
yeah.
Oh, they
did
don't?
see that.
Yeah, of course. I would know
I
that
saw
off the top
that.
of my head.
No,
Why don't they bathe their
that's
children?
That's what like the
That's
most the most recent thing I heard about those two is that they don't bathe their kids.
So I
And
think
by
he
the way,
should be
that's the
taken off
voice
the
of
Bears.
Lawrence, our producer.
Yes, shout out to Lawrence.
He's got a
LB.
great name. He
What's up?
spells it correctly, too.
Damn right.
Unlike Lawrence Holmes. is
Lawrence
spelled
Holmes
different?
spells
was
it
that
with a
was
U.
that a part of contention right there?
I mean, we always said that.
So if we're ruling out Barack Obama.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair.
I mean, that's just my
I don't think
opinion.
that's fair to 44.
That's just my opinion. You guys could say, I mean, I think if you
We haven't
just
brought
had-
up John Cusack yet. Should we? Do we need to have Cusack in? I mean, I know people are calling him out outside of games that he's showing up to.
See, this is the thing. I was talking.
God forbid someone want to do something with their night.
I was talking to you. You know, you're youthful. You're 24 now.
Yeah.
Your age group doesn't care about Cubs Sox or you have to stick to this team. as much as we did. We grew up, it's like, you're either a Cub or a Sox fan. And so that was my whole mindset throughout the John Cusack coming up to the 2005 World Series team, showing up there and then being seen at Cubs games. Now I don't care. That man wants to enjoy his Saturday. Let that man enjoy his Saturday. And if he puts on a White Sox cap, smooth. Go ahead and do it. He's very famous. I mean, have you seen any of his movies?
Yeah, I've seen Say Anything.
That's a good one. You're done?
it.
Out?
High Fidelity.
I have not seen High
The best
Fidelity.
one, the best one is where he's Brian Wilson.
we're-
That's fairly new.
We're literally
Love and
talking about
Mercy,
Craig
that's a good one.
Robinson. Hot Tub Time Machine?
I know I haven't seen Hot Tub Time Machine. Also, Craig Robinson, shout out to St. Xavier. He got his master's in education. A comedian got his master's in education from my other alma mater. And yes, the beard is real, Jimbo. I saw Vinnie laughing at that one. It's real. I've been growing it since I was 16. I'm 24 though. I mean, it's not 12.
Oh,
You can
growing
double
it since
that.
I was 16. The great follow up to that would have been so last year.
Yeah, exactly. I said I was 24 though. Matt would rather have it be Joan Cusack. I don't think she's a big sports fan though. And the one person we haven't mentioned too, Southsider Jenny McCarthy, she once said in an article, my favorite sports teams are the Bears and White Sox. I'm Southside, so got to represent. She's a Mother Macaulay alum on the South Side. But I think if we have to, I think Mandy Patinkin is the only one so far. But I don't really care about the celebrity thing. It's a chance is kind of there, but I mean, it just seems like all these people are too busy to, sit down for a Sox game. I think if they're better, like maybe 2022, we'll start seeing more and more people watch and tweet out about them. I think Field of Dreams was a nice a bump for them. But overall, it just seems like a tough sport for people to even come to. It's like 81 games at home where, Jack Nicholson just has to commit to 40 Laker games or something like that.
Is he, I haven't seen him in a long time. Is he still going to Lakers
I'm pretty
games?
sure I see Diane Cannon sitting down by the Lakers bench,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen Jack there.
Yeah.
forever.
Mary Hart's at Dodgers games all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know-
Mary Hart.
he knows
yeah.
none of these
Diane
people.
Cannon. Who? I feel like. I mean, can we talk like old sports people? Like, I feel like all these pop culture.
Well, like
references-
that's the thing. Isn't the most famous White Sox fan Frank Thomas? You know what I mean? Like
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is Michael Jordan a White Sox fan?
I would say so.
Okay.
I think that he probably, if he had a, Jerry's his buddy.
Yeah. Right. I would think so. Yeah.
I think so.
And she'll like it too. Nothing.
Oh,
Went over
Frank
your head.
Thomas,
Frank
eugenics.
Thomas,
Okay, I got you.
Went over your head. That commercial is also weird.
Matt Ryan's asking me, what have I seen? Vinny, can you throw out a movie? Herb, can you throw out a movie and we'll just see.
Back
We'll do
to the
this before
Future.
we end it. I've seen Back to the Future.
Wait,
I've
does
seen
it have
Back
to
the
be
Future
old?
2. I haven't seen 3. Yeah, oldish.
Oh, okay.
If you've seen 2, you've
Star
seen 3.
Wars.
Yes, I've seen all 9 of them.
I've never seen any of the Star Wars.
Oh,
Oh, so there you go.
that.
We
So
can
I'm pretty-
criticize you for that.
Oh, and right.
Here, there's the one
Joe
that's gonna kill.
Coolman. Yeah, You
I've
can
seen
read that one.
Spaceballs, so I've seen Star Wars. I'm out.
You can read this one.
The
though.
Schwartz and
Joe,
be with you.
Joe Coolman, 24, mentioning your buddy Sean Evans, who used to play softball with.
Oh, yes.
From Hot Ones.
Yes, Sean Evans from Hot Ones. Awesome.
Okay, so Mandy
And we're going to try to get
Patinkin-
him in studio here.
Mandy Patinkin, Mayor Daley, and Sean Evans are our 3 famous White Sox fans.
Chance the Rapper doesn't count?
Yeah.
We're not counting him?
And
guess.
Lori Lightfoot.
And Lori Lightfoot. Those are your top 5.
I want her to go to the other team.
How about Kane Guy? Remember, Kane Guy from last October.
Yeah, Kane guy was popular.
showed up
but
the
he's
next
not,
day
He's
and
not famous. That's
we
like
got
Herb.
killed.
He's competing with Herb.
We
Kane
got-
guy's
sure.
with Herb.
No, I don't have a bobblehead. Kane
No,
guy's
you
got a
don't.
bobblehead this year. I don't have a bobblehead. That guy's much more famous
Or the
than
guy
I am.
that Jimmy Fallon impersonated with the beer helmet.
That's a real White Sox fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You,
I don't-
I
you
don't
can
know who
tell
that
that
is.
they were really out of content. That they dug that up 2 months later. That they found this
Hey.
like cheap White Sox hoodie.
Now,
and put it on
Sean,
Jimmy
let me
Fallon.
just say, we're doing this podcast 5 days a week during a lockout. Let's not be ripping on other people's content ideas.
Oh yeah, because if they don't come
right.
to a deal, there's going to be some interesting topics coming up in a month from now.
We're just going to be like the Cubs podcast. We're going to be doing so many drafts. We're going to be from 2000 to now. We'll be doing just 1983 White Sox only. It should be a blast if this lockout continues. Hopefully not. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have some news for you. But if not, we're talking about Carlos Rodon and the White Sox. Vinny will have an article up later today about that. We'll also be talking about Vinny's most recent article, the A's fire sale, and how the White Sox can pick from that, and a lot more fun here on the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented to you by PointsBet. Again, use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. We were pointing at one more thing. You want?
Jimbo's making a quote. Do you know where that quote's from? That Jimbo's saying, life comes at you fast?
Oh,
no.
That's
Or
not
for
what that
Foles,
says.
it doesn't say that at all.
I do know life comes at
That's
you
not what
fast.
that says.
Now I'm
These
looking at it.
glasses.
I thought it said over there, but they switched over there. I saw it.
Oh,
sorry.
Ferris Bueller.
Oh, Lawrence coming for Foles. My bad. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blind, guys. Sorry.
It's all good.
Like my
I was
dog.
like, did I put up the wrong one? Nope.
See, the thing is, like on the side, I see little letters, and then when Lawrence puts it underneath us, it becomes clear.
Ferris Bueller is the movie.
Have you seen that movie?
Yes, I have seen Ferris Bueller. Probably my favorite Chicago movie.
Blues Brothers, hands down.
I haven't seen Blue Brothers.
Dude, you haven't
Topic
seen
for another
Blues Brothers.
podcast, guys.
Wrap-
We gotta
you
get
got-
going.
We got to wrap up
You
the
gotta wrap this
CHGO
up.
White Sox podcast with me not seeing Blues Brothers again. This
That
is
movie
presented
was
to you.
made like 30 years before you were born.
Absolutely. I should get more slack.
Nope. No.
CHGO White Sox podcast is presented to you by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. For Vinnie Duber and Herb Lawrence, I'm Sean Anderson. We will talk to you tomorrow here from the CHGO White Sox studios.